Welcome to the second episode of the Beltway Boys. This is your host right here, Marshawn Powers, alongside I hate to call him my co-host because we both, been putting this together for forever, but I would like to call him my partner in crime, Noah Gooden, where, on this show, we try to make the voiceless have voices. So, we brought a big special guest on today, a guy who is known to the DC area for very, very familiar with the DC area, was a Gatorade Player of the Year, played for one of the greatest schools in all of the DC area, Dematha. Went on to Duke to play with Coach K, help him win his first two national championships. I feel like we had to bring him on. Coach Blakeney, it's an honor to have you on, man. We're very blessed to have you on.
Hey, man, I'm super pumped to be here, and thanks for having me on, guys. The second episode, I feel honored. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Appreciate it, Coach. So you obviously are from DC. Can you talk about what it means to be able to come back home and coach at your hometown school?
Yeah, it's special. I think somebody had mentioned to me a long time ago when I got the job a year ago or so. They just said, "Do you know how unique it is to grow up in a city?" I grew up maybe 2.5 miles away from Howard. It's a campus that I spent so much time on as a youth. And today, to be representing Howard as the men's basketball coaches, it's a little bit of a dream come true, to be honest with you. I haven't been in DC since 1990. When I graduated Dematha, I left and I never really came back except for holidays or hard times, to be honest with you. I was trying to further my career, and some of the times my time was restricted, so I couldn't get back as much as I wanted to. But, this opportunity afforded me a chance to come back, reconnect with friends and family. And I'm just thrilled that I have the opportunity to represent Howard as this men's basketball coach.
So what part of DC you from, Coach?
Northwest. I grew up a couple of blocks away from Coolidge, Fort Totten, my subway station on Tacoma. My playgrounds in my neighborhood are Rudolph Recreation Center, Rabote Rec. Okay. Spent much time there. I went to Rudolph and Rabote. So I am a product, a little bit of the DC public school systems.
Definitely. I'm from Silver Spring, so I'm right over the border from where you are, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Well, Coach, it sounds like you went to public schools for, I guess, elementary and I want to say middle school, but you made that big change and decided to go to one of my favorite schools. I just got accustomed to the Dematha way by living up the street from it. So tell us a little bit about going to Dematha, playing under such an illustrious coach, Coach Morgan Wooden. Tell us how that was playing there at Dematha.
Yeah, I not a lot of people know this. I went to Dematha to play football, and I grew up a quarterback, wide receiver, defensive back, playing Metropolitan Police Boys Club and rec ball and things like that. But football was kind of the sport that attracted me to Dematha. And I got there my freshman year. They had been grooming a quarterback for a number of years through St. Mark's Middle School, which is over in the Hyattsville area. And they just they gave him the opportunity, and I was like, okay, if I'm not going to be able to play quarterback here, then let me go over and play another sport I really love and enjoy. So Coach Wooten, didn't even know I was in the building until one day he saw me playing in a freshman league game, and I think I probably did pretty well, and he and I struck up a relationship, and he became like a mentor for me. I grew up without a dad in the house, like a lot of kids. And, for me, Coach Wooten was a guy that really supported me and gave me the guidance. And I think the encouragement that I needed at that point in time in my life to really do the things I needed to do to prepare for my next journey, which was attending Duke University. But, Dematha is special to me, man, and it's a place I hold very dear in my heart.
Well, Man, you brought up Duke. That was going to be my next question. Man, going from to one of the greatest high school coaches to arguably the greatest college coach with Coach K. Like, how was there a big change going from being under Coach Wooten's arm going to playing for Coach K? Was that any big of a difference, or it was kind of like a small adjustment?
For me, it was an easy adjustment in terms of like what Coach was teaching, Coach K. I'd been lucky, as I mentioned. I played at the number 8 Boys and Girls Club, and I had coaches like Buddy Burkett, Pete Purnell, Rick Davis, and then transitioning from there at the rec center with Fluff Parker over at Remote Rec Center, Simeon down at Rudolph. I've always been lucky to play with coaches or for coaches that stress the fundamentals of basketball. And so when I got to Duke, I was very comfortable with what they were teaching. I was comfortable with the terminology. I was comfortable to working hard in the pace of practice. The transition that was kind of, I guess, a little different for me is you're playing now with, there's 15 other really good players that are out there playing with you on the team every day. So that took a little bit of an adjustment to get used to that, I guess, the pace of speed that the college game is, and also the size of bodies. We had guys that were 6'11", 6'9", and, we were a very large athletic team. But, the coaching part in terms of stressing the fundamentals are all the same from what I had at Duke and what I had at Dematha. So, I was very blessed to have guys like those coaches that I mentioned previously in my life.
Cool. So, Coach, you came to Duke obviously with some legends: Bobby Hurley, Antonio Lang, Grant Hill. Can you talk about being part of such a dominant class like that?
Yeah. I think when I got to Duke my freshman year, they had gone to 6 out of 8 Final Fours and never had gotten over the hump. And I knew that I wanted to go to Duke and win a national championship. I knew they were at the door knocking, and I didn't know what that would look like throughout my 4 years there. But I remember talking to my cousin who was at a junior college at the time, and he had called me up and said, "Hey, man, Tubby Smith, would love for you and me to go to Oklahoma together." And I was just like, I just said, "Man, look, I want to go win a national championship." And winning was always the first and, front thing for me in terms of what my decision was going to be attending a university besides the academics. So we had guys, like you said, in my freshman class, we had Grant Hill, Antonio Lang, Christian Ass, who's a DC. He's from Germany, but he was an exchange student that went to High Point in Beltsville. We had Marty Clark and myself. That was our freshman class. So we joke a little bit, internally talking about we were the Fab Five before the Fab Five. But, we had guys like Christian Laettner, Brian Davis, Thomas Hill, Bobby Hurley. I think on our team we had 3 players that have been ranked in the top 50 in terms of college basketball players in the history of the game, with Grant, Bobby, and Christian Laettner. So it was just a kind of a very unique time. It was a magical time, and we were part of a legacy and a history that I think the last team that won back-to-back championships was maybe one of the UCLA teams that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was on. So it was possibly over 20 or 30 years, before we had won back-to-back national championships. So a little bit like Forrest Gump, man, where I've just kind of been in the right place at the right time.
So you mentioned, the back-to-back championships. Can you talk about which one of those might have been your favorite, or if you even had a favorite, or how did that kind of break down?
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess, I'm saying it's like, winning national championships, to just kind of say which ones was your favorite is kind of like maybe picking which kid is your favorite. The journey was different in both years. When I got to Duke had just lost to UNLV in the national championship game by 30. So, we didn't have really cell phones then or anything like that. So my phone was blowing up for the longest after that game about going to Duke, seeing them lose by 30. One of the Duke players had a stomach situation, had to leave during the game to address his stomach situation. So, growing up in a black neighborhood where your future team had lost by 30, my peers really let me have it. And so it was a little bit of some fuel to the fire, I think, that year of let's use this opportunity to try to, take that next step, which we were able to do. So we became like, we were the guys pursuing at that point in time. And then, when we won it in 91 and the majority of our team came back, we became the team that was like being pursued, and we were everybody's biggest game. So this is challenging of a year as 91. But there was a lot more pressure in 92 because we had just done it. So I think the 92 year was more challenging. Certainly being a first to do something at a place kind of positions you in a way where, your legacy at that university is kind of etched in stone. So, they're different and unique in a lot of ways, and both kind of, the same in terms of the importance to me with being part of those teams.
Wow, that's pretty good to hear. Well, Coach, after such a successful career at Duke, winning 2 championships in, I want to say, 4 years, you decided to get into coaching. Your first job was James Madison. Tell us a little bit about how you got into coaching. Most people would probably go try to play professional basketball, but you kind of went the opposite route. Tell us a little bit about how you went from going from playing at Duke to going to James Madison to where you kind of are today.
Well, my freshman year in college, I had a knee injury that kind of limited me in terms of my athletic ability throughout my college career. And, by the time I had graduated in 95 and finished my eligibility, my body was just beat up. And I literally, when I moved and tried to play, it was painful. So I just remember being at home. I was playing at Fort Stevens Playground on a Sunday morning. And, there were some guys that had necks and they were, watching the game. And I don't know what I had done, but I did something that wasn't successful. And they just said, "Is that the dude that played for Duke?" And his boy said, "Yeah." He said, "He's sorry as beep." And I heard that. And at that point, I was like, okay, it's time for me to really do something else. And I had during April of my senior year, I had talked to Coach Bob Bender, who at the time was the head coach at the University of Washington. And he had interviewed me knowing my background. He was a Duke guy. He needed to bring in an assistant coach. So, Pac-10, University of Washington, I was just really kind of, taken in by my conversation with him and understanding a little bit about my pedigree and my past. And because at the time I didn't understand the significance of Coach Wooten. I didn't understand the significance of Coach K. So, after understanding that a little bit, I started to pursue, the coaching side of the game and gave up an opportunity to go play in New Zealand, that following season. So I got a call probably in October, the end of October, from Chuck Drizel. And Chuck is Coach Lefty Drizel's son, who was on his staff at James Madison. Just said, "Hey, look, I heard you're interested in coaching. We're about to lose one of our coaches." And literally, this is probably 2 weeks before their first game. So I went through the interview process. Coach Drizel hired me. And my first day there was the day before the first game of the season against Bowling Green. And Coach Larinaga was the coach there at the time. They had a point guard named Daniels who ended up going to the NBA and playing for a very long time. And so I get there my first day of practice. We practice, we get on the bus, we catch the plane to Bowling Green. The very next day is my second day at the job. And we're going through the game. Coach Lefty Giselle, it was a close game at the end. I'm sitting by him, and he grabs my knee, and he's like, Kenny, what should I do? And I'm looking at him like, Coach Lefty, I don't even know these dudes' names. Like, how can I tell you? I'm like, so, that was my break into the coaching business. I was thrown to the fire, and thankfully so with Coach Drizel, because he really allowed me to kind of learn as much as I could for that 1 year I was there. I wanted to get in the business so bad that my first coaching job, it only paid $3,000. James Madison gave me a meal card, so I would go eat with the students, my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then the $3,000 was for my gas money, a little bit of food, and for my rent. Living in Harrisonburg, Virginia. So, very thankful for Coach Lefty for giving me an opportunity to let me cut my teeth at James Madison and getting me into the business.